Hello food fans and welcome to my AEW Rampage 2 review. Now this show starts basically with an announcement by the commentary team that there's going to be a new mid-card belt. Now my personal feelings are that you can't just have a belt called the mid-card belt and it needs a name. Now in my career in the AEW I was the first and the last UK champion and I held that belt more times than anyone else. I think it was like seven-time UK champion. Now the reason I bring this up is because I give my blessing to use the UK championship again. Rename this new mid-card championship the AEW UK Championship. I think that's a much better name than just the mid-card championship. Now let's move on to Mr. Isaac's promo. Now I like the fact that he puts on a shirt and a tie to show that he's the boss, he's the general manager. But I think if you're going to go to the level to put on the shirt and a tie, you probably shouldn't record his promo in a messy bedroom. I think maybe if you record it next to a computer, so it gives the appearance that he's in an office sort of thing, and make sure it's clean, so you appear that he's very professional. And if that's not possible, then why not do it in the ring? Because that's the next best option. If you're going to do a backstage segment, then you give it an appearance of professional. Even if you turn the camera around and it is a messy bedroom sort of thing, if you give it the illusion that it's an office, that'll be enough. But sitting on a bed with boxes behind him kind of is a bit immersion breaking. And I'm not saying this to be an arsehole, I'm just saying this because I want it to be better. I think if you give a little bit of an illusion sort of thing, it can be better. One of the things he brought up was the rope break in the previous event, which should have been a rope break but it was counted as a pin, and then they flashbacked to the event, and I think that was a good move. It's good to show instead of just tell, and well done on that. But one thing I noticed about Mr. Isaac himself was when he's not looking down reading his script, and it's obvious that's what he's doing, he shows pretty good personality and he shows that he could work the role very well. But he's kind of most of the time looking down just reading the script, and I think that kind of kills it a little bit. If he can't learn the lines, then another thing that they could do is they could like set up a thing so you can see the paper and he's reading it like it's a speech instead of an announcement sort of thing. It's pre-prepared, just like a politician sort of. So that way he can read off the scripts and it works for him. But just having it off screen and having him looking down the entire time, it could be better. Now as we move on, we go to the promo between Ryan Storm, Leo Jackson and the Bruiser. Now I noticed during this entire event that Leo Jackson seems to be babyface in this event. Considering he's been heel in most of the others, the ones that I've seen at least, this seemed to be a change out of nowhere, but I think it works. I think Leo Jackson works better as a babyface than a heel, so I personally would keep that change. But I also understand the fact that they needed to change someone, because if they kept him heel, then all three of them would be heels, and a triple threat between three heels is a bit meh. So Leo Jackson out of all three would be the best one to turn. And again, I think it works. Keep him babyface from now on. It's my opinion. Now another thing I noticed about this segment, and it's the same all the way through the event, is whoever it is that's operating the camera needs to learn about how light affects the shot, because in this segment the cameraman is to one side and the three of them are standing in front of the window in the little tent thing. I can't remember what it's actually called, but let's say tent for now. So the light is coming through the window, so the light is behind the three of them. Now when the light is behind the thing you're trying to capture, you can't see it, it becomes all shadow. So you need to have the light behind the camera, so that way it lights up what you want to look at rather than making it dark. Now when the thing you're trying to look at is outside, for example during the hardcore match, if you're outside as well, then that's when you get the bright light that blinds everything. So then if you come into the dark, so into the little tent thing, then it's a much cleaner shot. And it's little things like that that you have to experiment around with, and maybe before the show make it so that you can know exactly where you can position yourself to get a good shot. When you know if they're fighting inside the tent, you know, right, this is where I should stand. If they're fighting in a corner, you should stand where. And just experiments, you know what you can see. Because right now, you're just kind of standing where you can stand, and it's not coming through the best shots. And most of the time, it's blank or it's bright, and it just needs to be tweaked a little. Now, I apologize for that because that was a bigger rant than I was expecting to, but it's out now. The next thing I want to rant about this section is it was brilliant that they added the stipulation that the Rising Star Championship was also on the line, but what they didn't make clear was how it would work. The first time I watched this, I had absolutely no idea. I was completely lost about it. So I went back and watched it again when I was taking my notes. And then I realised that if Ryan Storm got pinned, he would lose the championship. Well, that's good. That makes it a bit more clearer, so that was my bad. But it should have been repeated by the commentary so that it was understanding. But what was also not said was what happens if Leo Jackson pinned Ryan Storm. Does that mean that Leo Jackson would win both the AEW Championship and the AEW Rising Star Championship? Because if that was the case, it should have been brought up about what a great opportunity this is for Leo Jackson. And also during the match, the psychology should be changing. Leo Jackson should be trying to pin Ryan Storm the entire time, and Bruiser should be trying to pin Ryan Storm the entire time. So basically this is a terrible stipulation for Ryan Storm, because he's the one with the big arrow on his back, because the AEW Championship would always be on the line, I assume. Because it was also not said that the AEW Championship was on the line the entire time. For example, if Ryan Storm pinned Leo Jackson, he would win the AEW Championship. But that was what I just assumed, so I believe it should have been stipulated by the commentary team that if Ryan Storm gets pinned, he loses the championship, and this is a big opportunity for Leo Jackson, because if he pins Ryan Storm, he gets both belts. Because that's my understanding of the way this match was supposed to be laid out. But I think it should have been repeated by the commentary team again straight after it was announced, and again right at the beginning of the match, and maybe a couple of why is Bruiser pinning Leo Jackson, he has a sort of thing, or why is Leo pinning Bruiser when he could get both belts. That similar sort of thing from the commentary. See, out of the box thinking is very good, because it's something new and it's something different that you don't see anywhere else. But in that situation, you really need to make sure everybody understands what's going on, because if you don't, then it becomes confusing. But as for the promos themselves, they were pretty good promos, a few stumbling of the words here and there, but that's okay. If they can do it in the WWE, they can do it in the AEW, it's fine. So pretty good for the promos. And just after this, we got a Ryan Storm solo promo, which very good to have them have their own individual promos before the main event, but I think he needed to show a little bit more personality. He seemed a bit bland, sort of, yeah, okay, I'm the Rising Star Champion sort of thing. He needed to show a bit more personality, but what he was saying was pretty good. Next is the first match of the show, which is Calvert versus Christian Burke. Now, during this match, they were giving each other plenty of space. Now, this was brought up in the commentary team as though I don't understand this, I would be on them, which is good because Stewart seemed to be more the one doing it, and he was I've always said he works better as a heel commentator, so that works brilliantly. But I also think them giving each other space worked well because they're both baby faces, so they have the respect for each other. But here's the problem: when Jamie pointed this out, he pointed out that they're both baby faces. I think he just said they're both faces, but still, baby face and heel is a backstage terminology. If you was to watch a professional wrestling show, you never hear the term heel or baby face. This is what they get called backstage. I suggest they don't call anyone a heel or a babyface. I believe they should say stuff like, both of these guys are respected by the fans, which means babyface. but you don't say the words babyface, because it's a character which you don't want to show on screen. So I know what he was trying to do, but I think he should not use those terminologies while commentating. Now, as for the match itself, I noticed that Christian strikes are a lot better. They still need a bit of work, but they're a lot better than the last event. Also, Calvert threw a few super kicks during the show, and they definitely need a lot more work. Most of the time they were half a mile away, and the funny thing was during the match with Christian, the one that looked closest, I'm not saying it hit him, but the one that looked closest was the one that Christian didn't sell. So I thought that was funny, but still, they need work. They need to at least connect. Even if they hit the chest area, that's better than not hitting at all. But other than that, his general performance again was better than the last show, but the last show one was pretty bad with the overly choreographed match. So this is a lot better than then. Now, in my notes that I've written here, I said that for the finish of the match, Christian used a Cena STF. Now, what I meant by that was it was a very loose STF. So, Christian, tighten up that STF. You don't want to look like Cena, because that is the move that most people point to when we say that Cena sucks. If you're going to use the STF, make sure it's nice and tight. As for the whole of the match, both of them were improved from the previous match, which is brilliant. It was a pretty good match, and at the end, when they both shook hands and showed respect for each other, as they're both baby faces, that was a good move. Next was Leo Jackson's solo promo, and I thought this was a very good promo. He stumbled on his words a little tiny bit, but again, that's okay. He showed lots of personality, and it was a good babyface personality. Yeah, there was a little bit of cockiness in it, but even the best can have a little bit of cockiness. And he came across very likable, so I thought this was a brilliant babyface promo. The only thing I would add to it was, again, if I understood the rules correctly, he had the shot to walk out with 2 titles, so he should have probably brought that up. Yeah, the opportunity thing was brought up a little bit, but it wasn't quite clear about the 2 title things. If he couldn't win the Rising Star and it was just Bruiser, if Bruiser pinned him, then maybe that should have been brought up a little bit, but I do believe if he could walk out with 2 titles, it should have been brought up. The next match is Legion versus Sin, and it's my understanding this is Legion's debut match. Now let me start by talking about the mat. By what I saw, the mat wasn't taken down after the first match, so it was still loose. Now, I think that they should tape down the mat after every single match. If it becomes loose, then you tape it up again. Make sure it's secure, because when the mat's loose, that's when you get the slips, and it makes it look a bit amateurish. I know it's amateur entertainment wrestling, but I think they need to tape that mat down, if for nothing else, for their own safety, because while it's slipping, that's when you fall in the wrong way, that's when you get injuries. So tape down the mat, and don't be stingy with it either. Make sure that thing is secure. So as this match started off, Sin went straight for Legion's eyes. Straight from the off, he goes straight in with a heel move, which I thought was brilliant, because Legion's so big. So how was Sin going to take him down fairly? He wasn't. So straight in with the heel moves, just to show dominance, just to show that he's the one that knows what the hell he's doing. This guy is a new guy, so you're not going to school me, I'm going to school you. Brilliant psychology. But because of this, all the way through, he was using heel moves, cheating any way he could, biting his hand in the submission, biting his arm, poking him in the eye, continuously doing these things. So I feel that Legion should become more aggressive. He should have been more on top of it. He should have been right on top of him all the time. Whenever he was in control, keep on him, instead of giving him the space that he did. The way Legion is, where he has the size, but he doesn't necessarily have the stamina, because all the way through he was panting, he was out of breath, which is okay, but you know your limits, so you use that to your advantage. He should be working very powerful, very on top of things, but very slowly. Slow down the pace. Go for a nice long, slow elbow drop. Long, slow punches. Hold him in a submission to catch your breath. Don't try and burst and become powerful and then have to step back because you're out of breath. Take your time, don't be afraid to stick on a headlock and just hold it there for a minute or two so you can catch your breath. Yeah, you probably should wrestle a bit more so you can get used to keeping up, but you also want to make sure you work at a pace that works for you. But because of this, because I think he should work slow, methodical and destructive, that I believe that he would work best as a heel. So putting him against Sin as a babyface, I don't think was the right fit for him. I think he should be taking out people like Christian, maybe Benji, Fearflex, let him go against babyfaces so he can become the more dominant one. I will say that Legion's very good at selling for a big guy, where he was wobbling when he was getting struck, and I especially like the headbutt bit where Sin went for a headbutt, no sell, and then he headbutted him back and Sin fell down. That was brilliant. And with the biting of the hand, the way he was shaking his hand, brilliant. He's got selling down. He just needs to slow down the pace so he can keep up with himself. As for Sin, there's not much to say. He was working as well as he usually does. His psychology is brilliant. He knows exactly what to do and when. He knows that he's fighting a big guy, so he's got to fight dirty and keep on top. It was smart to go for a lift move and fail, because even though it looks like he can't lift him up, it also shows you more that the size of Legion. The Legion is big, he's powerful, so you can't overpower him. This isn't such a good move if this was his 100th match, but as this is his debut, this shows you exactly his weight and his power, so that was a good move. I also think that Legion's finish, the splash, I think it needs a bit of work. Try and work on getting a bit more elevated with the splash, but it was okay. But if it's going to be a finish, you need to work on it a bit. I really did like the claw that you used. That was brilliant. Maybe if you want to try and work on that as a finish, but the splash needs a bit of work. And then after Legion's victory, which I think was a good thing, it helps build him up, Calvert has a revenge run-in, and he gives Legion 3 super kicks. Now the first 2 super kicks were very, very good. The last one that actually took him down, not so much, but you need to watch yourself on those first 2 kicks, see what you did there, and you want to try and repeat that. That being said, the revenge run-in, it was a bit confusing. It made sense on the overall storyline, but Legion just had a match where he was very much a babyface. So this is a babyface attacking another babyface. If someone just watched this show, it could be construed that that was a heel turn for Calvert, but I know it wasn't. So I think the story needed to be a little bit more thought out. This is why I'm saying that Legion should have probably been at heel. Not that you should have had Sin become a babyface instead, because I think Sin works better as a heel. So maybe Sin versus Legion was not the best match for this specific time. But as for the match itself, it was pretty good. It's just a few story elements which is a bit confusing, but the actual moves, pretty good. Next comes the Bruiser's promo, where he makes it a hardcore match, which is pretty good. That adds a bit of cockiness, and he had a lot of cockiness during the entire promo, which is good as it's a very good heel thing. The problem with his promo was he put down his opponents, which is something you never really want to do. He kind of come across like, oh, they're nothing. The problem with putting down your opponents, especially in a triple threat match, is if they beat you, then you've just been humiliated because you said they were nothing and you've been crushed. And if you beat them, then it's no big deal. You said that they're nothing, so of course you were going to win. So putting down your opponents is something that you don't want to do, which not putting down your opponents is something I complimented him for last event. So that's a bit negative points there, I will say. But the cockiness works. It's kind of, you got to be cocky, like, I got to have a bit of a run for my money sort of thing. I want to beat them, but I want a bit of a challenge sort of deal. But saying that they're nothing, it's counterproductive because it's not going to help build your character. So out of all 3 of the solo promos, I'm going to have to say Leo Jackson had the best promo of the night. So well done, Leo. Keep it coming. You want to run with that. If you're going to stay babyface, this is the sort of thing you want to do. So I recommend you stay babyface and keep it coming. So now we come to the main event, which is the triple threat hardcore match for the AEW Championship and possibly the Rising Star Championship, depending on how the rules were supposed to work. Leo Jackson versus Ryan Storm versus The Bruiser. Now, as soon as he comes out, Ryan Storm attacks Leo Jackson, which I thought was brilliant. Again, it builds on the fact that Leo Jackson's babyface and Ryan Storm's the heel, and then as soon as the Bruiser comes out, he comes out and straight away attacks as well, which it works. It helps to build the characters up. I also have to say that I like the hardcore match in the AEW better than a regular match, not just because back in my day the E stood for extreme, so they were all hardcore matches, but because I think that the hardcore match where the pinfalls count anywhere, it opens up the area, so it's a lot easier to, there's a lot more room. Sometimes during a regular match it can be a bit claustrophobic because the ring is very small, so the hardcore match opens it up, so pinfalls count anywhere, and I think that works very, very well. As for Leo Jackson, his strikes are a lot better. Yeah, big improvement, and keep them coming. Not every single one was perfect, but that's the sort of thing you want to look for. Also, when the referee was knocked out and Leo went for the pin, he had a brilliant reaction with the "oh my god, where's the ref?" oh sort of reaction, and it works for him. I do think the referee was knocked out for a bit too long. Maybe should have had someone else run in to act as ref, or my thought was someone goes backstage, gets a bottle of water and then pours it over him. Just maybe that sort of thing. But he was knocked out for a bit too long. But when Leo went to drag the referee to help for the cover, and then Bruiser grabbed his ankle, that was brilliant. With that sort of tug of war with the referee. Smart. This is clever moves. This is fighting with your brain instead of your muscles. It works very well. As for Ryan Storm, what he was doing was very good, but I do think he needs to expand his moveset a bit and throw in a few more moves. Right now it's really just DDTs and a few strikes and then the occasional spear. I think he needs to mix it up a bit, maybe throw a few slams in, just add a little bit more, maybe just to try and expand the moveset a little bit, just to mix it up. Although I will say this match was a lot better for Ryan Storm than the last match, again because the last match was overly choreographed, and this seemed a bit more natural, and they did some really good stuff. All three of them worked very well in this match, especially Ryan Storm and Leo Jackson, because they've been put down the entire show, mostly by the commentary team and by the Bruiser, and they seem to give as good as they got in the match, so it helped elevate them both. I do think that Ryan Storm needed to act a little bit more heel, because his character seemed to be heel. He's very cocky, but he needs to show a bit more personality for him. Although, as I feel like I'm sort of picking on Ryan Storm a little bit, I don't intend to, but it's just the way I feel. I will defend him on one thing. When it came to the concerto, the commentary team was like, "Oh, what the hell, that was a red card offence," because he seemed to miss him. He did, in the way that I saw it, is he hit him with the corner of the chair, which is exactly how the move is supposed to go, because you don't headshot them, because if you headshot them, you fuck them up. He hit the chair with the tip of the chair to make the clonk, and he hit Bruiser with the corner of the chair. So I have to defend him on that one call from the commentary team. But he does need to work on his kicks, that's true. As for the entire match, it was a pretty damn good match. It was made a little bit easier as it was a triple threat hardcore match. So they had the room, they had the tools to use, and where there was three of them, they could easily play on each other. So I will say it was the best match of the night, but they did have more advantages. Plus everyone in the match had improved since the previous event, which is what you want to see. It just needed a bit more explaining in the build-up. But as for the entire show, it was a pretty good show. Definitely worth watching. It's definitely worth subscribing to the channel to watch what comes next. So you should do that. Let me know what you thought of the event. Plus, do you agree with me? If you don't agree with me, let me know so I can explain and debate. in the comments. You got to let me know. Telling other people is all great because it can come back to me sometimes, but if you messaged in the comments, then we can explain our points of view. If you think that someone else had a better promo, then just let me know and say, why do you think that they have a better promo? And then we can have a conversation. So let me know. If you think someone needs work here, let me know and I will get back to you. Plus, I can guarantee you that the AEW will be reading the comment section, so they will know as well. So together we can make this better. And if you've liked this review, please like, favourite and subscribe. I am the Food. Thanks for listening.